Peace to the God. I see my God brother connecting with me. Muslim gods connect. Peace to the God. Yeah,
Okay, here we go.
the God.
Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the God. What's
Alaikum
going on,
salam.
Lord? Yeah, I saw you connected. I'm like, oh man, let me see if this joint gonna work for me. You know what I'm saying? I've been having a little, mess ups lately with it. You know what I mean? The volume and everything. You can hear me loud and clear, God?
Yes, sir. Hey, good.
Okay. Yeah, you know what I mean? So let me jump on the live with you, real quick. You know what I mean? For the people that don't know, just tell them your name, real quick.
Yes, sir. I go by the name of Jahad Shakur. That's what most people know me as. In the mosque, I'm known as Tavares X.
Okay.
I'm just your brother, as they say, man. I
Indeed,
like that.
indeed. And also added to that question, what's your name and where you from and when did you get the knowledge? You know what I'm saying? When
Okay, yes, sir. I'm from Patterson, New Jersey. Um, you know, when you ask that question, I gotta think back. I gotta think back in my mind in terms of um let me say this. I guess I came into consciousness in 1988 at the age of
wow.
13.
Oh wow.
I was
Okay.
invited out to the mosque. Me and my older brother was
Mm,
invited out to the mosque by the FOI, and I
mm,
heard Minister Kadir preach for
mm,
the first time. He taught on the
mm,
subject of the white man being the devil.
mm.
It was just like, man, all the rusty locks just started falling off my mind. And I was like, that's it, man. That's what.
Yeah. Mm,
But I grew up in Patterson, New Jersey, and Patterson, New Jersey was just like a concentration of gods, like in the early 80s.
mm,
So the first time I heard the teachings, in a roundabout way,
mm,
probably was through the gods. You see what I'm
mm,
saying? But I wasn't born into the nation. It was just like every block you went to was just flooded with gods and earths in my
mm,
town. Like,
mm,
like how the Bloods and Crips and everything is spread out
mm.
everywhere in the hood. In the early 80s, Patterson was like that. Everywhere you go, somebody asks you, yo, God, you be righteous? You righteous?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
So,
remember that too. It wasn't you got knowledge yourself or you. It was like, yo, you righteous. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Yo, that brother righteous. True
yeah, right.
indeed. I
Let
remember
me
the
put my
days. But
headphones
you said
on.
80. You went back to what you said. You got knowledge back in 80. What was it? You
Yeah, it
said
was
88.
88. 88, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Wow. Okay.
that was
Man,
that was
I was in
around the
high
time.
school. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to high school. I was
Yeah.
leaving eighth grade and going to high school. So it probably I can't recall in my mind exactly if it was the springtime or summer. I'm thinking it was like the end of
Mm,
spring going into summer
yeah.
because
There was a lot of 5 percenters out there, like in your, area in Jersey.
yeah, the 5 percenters though, like that was the early '80s. Like my upstairs neighbor was God. He is still God. Name
Mm,
Masterful Equality. You know what I mean?
okay.
Great God, man. Beautiful spirit. I
Mm,
used to look up to him. He's my upstairs neighbor. And,
right.
he's a lot older than me. So I
Mm,
used to look up to him. He had the knowledge of self that I
mm,
knew, but he never gave me lessons. I never asked. I just around 1985 was the first time I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan name.
mm,
Like all the gods
Mm,
had came back from Madison Square Garden, and they
mm-hmm.
was just on fire, man. So they came home, they was just chanting "Word Born to Farrakhan." I just remember, I don't know why the name stuck in my head, why I remembered it. I didn't know who heck Farrakhan was. That's just what they was saying. Word Born
Yeah,
to Farrakhan. I probably was about maybe 9 or 10 then, something like that.
yeah,
And they just had this type of energy. They was riled up. So,
right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
But the name stuck. So then about 3 years later,
Mm,
Public Enemy hit the scene. They
mm.
first album dropped. I liked it. I was a fan of that Yo Bum Rush the Show, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it was the FOI where he was selling the paper. Public Enemy used to have an ad in the paper when Minister
Mm.
Farrakhan was pushing the power products to the
Okay,
FOI and letting
okay.
them sell, like, soap, toothpaste, essentials, bathroom
Mm.
essentials and stuff like that. We had these products and trying to like empower the brothers, right? So inside
Yes,
there,
sir.
PE had a ad. So I look at this paper.
Mm.
My older brother Diop, he, I thank God for him, man. He was a good big brother, you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
he would never let me do no devilishment or nothing like that. But he would always
Yeah,
invite me to positive. Like he was doing devilishment, but he would never
yeah,
allow
yeah.
me
So
allow
keep
me
you away
to.
from it. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
It's easy, man. You grow up in these hoods. It's so easy to go left. It's all
Wow.
around you, right?
So you pretty much, like you said, you got knowledge with the nation first, or was it the 5 percenters first?
No, it was really with the nation first, but I'm saying
Okay.
I heard remnants of the teachings from the gods because they was everywhere.
Right,
So,
right, right.
but initially, my rise to consciousness was from the mosque, though. And
Mm.
then it's
Okay.
funny. Then
Okay.
I was too young to join the mosque, though. But
Hmm.
later on, I joined the Nation of Gods and Earths.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Because
About what year was that?
that that was in the '90s, maybe the mid '90s,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
You know, but at first it was like around when the '90s hit, it kind of slowed down
Mm-hmm.
in my particular geographical location. It
Right,
kind of slowed down in terms of God's being everywhere. Like people
right,
start
right.
getting into other things, but
Mm.
I think like when the Wu hit, it was kind of like a resurgence. You know what I
Right.
mean? When the Wu came back
Mm.
full force, like it was somewhat like a resurgence. So
Right,
I
right.
want to say
Yeah.
about I want to say
That was probably
about
like 94, 93,
not
94, 95,
yes
something like
sir,
that.
not yeah
Mm.
94. Cause see 93, I had lessons and stuff, but I didn't have no enlightener. I didn't really
Right,
have no
right,
enlightener. So the
right.
God Masterful used to write me sometimes. He used to write me things, and I would read it, and I would touch
Mm.
down with him, go by his rest,
Yeah.
and but I really wasn't like in the mix of the gods
Right.
until about that I would say 94, and I met a
Mm.
God named Supreme Divine. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yes, sir. He may rest in peace. He passed away
Mm.
last year. Matter of
Okay.
fact,
Okay.
and I met him, and he took me to the civilization class. That was about '95.
Mm.
I met him '94 the summer, but when the civilization classes began, it probably turned to winter of
Right.
'95, and we started this civilization class, and
Mm.
it was just a few brothers. It was a
Mm.
few of us, um, a handful of brothers, but
Mm.
we generated a lot of like magnetic, you know what I mean? Because some of the
Mm.
classes started to get big, like to the
Right.
point we couldn't fit it in the apartments and stuff sometimes, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it
Right.
was just like I said, energy bubbling back through the city
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like.
That's what's up.
So I had a unique history because I got a chance to see, both nations.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Right. Right. Yeah, that's peace. That's peace. And like you said, you said the nation pretty much first, then the 5 percenters. You know,
yes, sir.
uh, so you was like opposite for me because I started off with the nation of gods and earth. As a 5 percenter in the nation of gods and earth. Then eventually, nation of Islam. still 5%, but just,
Right.
Nation of Islam, 5%. I guess we're those that group that, or that seed rather, because the father, you know, I heard a brother build on the analogy of the father, and he said it's kind of like, Jesus using a parable of the sower of good seeds, or the sower
Right.
of many seeds. You know what I'm saying? We were those seeds that fell into the mosque, that he sent back into the mosque, though that group, that small group, but look at the fruit that it produced. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Indeed.
like we're back now, like, hey, we belong to this group too. People
Yes,
forget about
sir.
that. The father had a group that he sent back into the mosque, what I
Right.
mean, or the temple rather, what I'm saying. But what would you say, since you experience both nations, what I'm saying, what would you say is the difference, what I'm saying, between the teachings of, you know, the Nation of Islam being a FOI, a fruit in a
Hmm.
nation, versus God body, 5%ers. You know what I'm saying? What would you say is the difference? Or is there any difference? Did you see any difference?
Right. Um, it's kind of like a tough question because there's so many different ciphers
Mm,
in the nation. You know what I mean? The gods and earths.
mm,
So it's not like one type of thought process. You know.
mm, mm,
Um, because I would say when I joined back then in my particular area,
mm,
it was well discipline that was the difference right off the bat.
mm,
The discipline, they were more loose in terms of dealing with refinement. It was not strict or rigid.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They could indulge in some other things or other ciphers,
Mm,
but it's less structured, I would say. In
mm,
Nation of
mm,
God's Earth, it's not as much structure. Like you kind of could like you know do your own type of thing
mm,
in one
mm,
sense. You know,
right,
they have parameters too, and I
right,
guess that's some of the beef that the NG have with the Muslim guys because they
right,
feel like maybe we violating a particular parameter.
right,
But
right.
after studying, you know, now I
Mm,
began to see that a lot of people kind of shape their own understanding and assign it to the father. You know what I mean?
mm,
That it was like thoughts and ideas that he never really manifested,
right.
or he may have said a particular sentence or
Mm.
something, and people kind of spun it, like gave it their own interpretation to make it something other than what it was. You know,
Give me an example, or just, one example.
like oh, you just mentioned one for an example. You
Mm,
just mentioned a great one. Like when I came amongst the gods, it was almost like an anti-NOI feeling, I would say. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like almost like I didn't even understand it because, like I said, I got Najee from the temple first, then moved to the gods, and they used to have like this kind of like, it was like you bumping heads. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the little
Right.
brother fighting for position. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna make my
Mm,
own bones out here in these streets. Like, and it was kind of like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
like what you just said was key though,
Mm,
that the father sent some people back into the mosque for discipline. You know what I mean?
right.
So he wasn't anti
Right.
NOI. He didn't have that
Mm,
type of attitude towards the nation. And
right.
if you speak to the firstborns, they'll tell you that the father loved Elijah Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? He left the temple. That was his own choice to do, but he never spoke
Mm,
ill, of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, even if he
right.
may have had a different understanding than
Mm,
Elijah,
mm,
which is natural. You figure most honorable Elijah Muhammad been studying the teachings for what, about 30 years before the father came around. So we can't necessarily expect the father who was only studying the teachings. He got the knowledge of self in 1960. Then he went out on his own in 1964. Like, you see what I'm saying? So a 4-year-old is not going to have the same understanding as his father is going to have in terms of reality.
Right.
You know what I mean? This I'm not saying this is so. This is just how I see it, how I sum it up.
No, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I can't expect him to see everything exactly the way
Right.
Elijah did, because when Elijah was 4 years old into the teachings, he sees it differently than when he got, after he was studying it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 20. You see, because like our understanding is always developing, and time is moving forward. So you're gonna have different ways you see things. You see what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of gods and earths sometimes mistake that as, you know, because the father thought one way at this time, this is just it. This is what it's going to be. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to the father. I don't think that's fair to self to limit yourself, in that capacity,
Sure
but
did. Sure did. And just to add to what you're saying real quick, you right and exact. But just to add to that, when you look at some of the firstborn, who, the brothers deemed as the firstborn, the father taught this group of individuals, this first nine groups, so that's the first nine or whatever. Those individuals was teenagers. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? The father
right,
was like our age, well,
right.
not even our age, because the father, around 40, I believe he, what I'm saying, departed from us or whatever, was taken from us. But
He was in his mid-30s when he
30s,
met them,
you were,
right,
kids around 35, 36, old man Justice was almost 40, he was older than the father, you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So, you see them doing certain things or even having certain conversations. It's like as a child, 13, 14, 15, 16, you don't really, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Just to add on to what you're saying, you're right and exact. Your understanding is going to grow. You know what I'm saying? The way you perceive things is going to grow. It's going to be different 30 years from now when somebody asks you to, recollect back now to that time when your father told you such and such. Well, yeah, your
Right,
emotion at that time was you was upset
right.
because you was looking at it from a child's perspective. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? But as you grew to be a man, now you can look back and say, you know what, man, Dad, thanks for not letting me, you know, go over there, because you know what I'm saying?
Indeed, God, indeed.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because
sure
you
did.
look at it, his wife was still in the nation. You know what I mean?
Sure did.
Sister Dora was still in the nation. Like,
Sure did.
that right there says a lot within itself, because that's his earth. So
Right,
she the first teacher of the babies.
right,
You know what I
right,
mean? So she teaching them what she learned in the mosque.
right,
You ain't, I don't have no history of them beefing and bumping heads over that. You know what I mean? I
right.
never heard no firstborn say they argued over that, or that they was clashing, and he tried to force her to come into the nation to follow him. He
Right,
he chose to leave for whatever reason, but he
right,
didn't drag his wife. So
right, right.
there's no anti-NOI thing there. It's like,
That's
I
a good
think
point.
brothers that came along later, you
Mm,
know, I think they had beefs.
mm,
Like let me say this, God.
mm,
One thing that I noticed is that when you come from the nation of gods and earths, or five
mm,
percenters,
mm,
it a lot depends on your enlightener, like how
mm.
your enlightener introduce you to the knowledge. You see what I'm saying? If he had a negative experience with the Nation of Islam, then he give you the knowledge in that form. Like, you
You
know what I'm
drinking that?
saying, with the
You
stigma attached to it.
Yeah, yeah. You drink it. It's like a mother eating processed foods.
Right,
Instead of giving the baby good breast milk, what I'm saying,
right.
you giving them a lot of other stuff that's mixed in, and yeah, yes sir, yes
Yes,
sir.
sir. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, so that's what I see when like, just I guess I'm a prime example of that, because But I can't
Mm-hmm.
say I'm a prime example because, like I said, I got knowledge of self first anyway. But
Right.
when I did come around the gods like the God Masterful, he had a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful outlook on the messenger. You see what I'm saying? Like he never claimed to be NOI, and I'm sure he signs up the teachings differently,
Right.
but he wasn't anti NOI.
Right.
You know what I mean? As
Right.
a matter of fact, he gave me the book. The first time I read Jabril Muhammad's writing was from him. He had a
Mm-hmm.
copy of is it still possible the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive?
Still physically
He
alive.
he
Yes,
had
sir.
like the third printing of it. It was in black and red. The covering. It's like I
Right.
don't even see that cover no more. But
For
it
real?
was black with red lettering
What color is my cover? I got that book. Mine is white. Mine is white.
with the
With,
green lettering,
with the
right?
green. Yeah. Yes, sir.
It did. See,
Yeah.
that was in the '90s printing, but he had
Right.
one from like the early '80s. It was like the
Okay.
second or third printing that Jabril put
Mm.
out. So,
Okay.
and he would just talk about it like that. But one thing
Mm.
that I noticed too was that when I went amongst the gods, they didn't really have no history of the Nation of Islam. Like a lot of them was, and this is not put down, just being
Right.
keeping it 100 with
Yeah.
you. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they just didn't have no history.
Right.
They had a lot of misconceptions, and
Right.
oftentimes we'd be in civilization class, and I would like correct them. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Correct, like, nah, that's not the truth of the matter. Like it's this,
Mm.
like, because
Yeah.
you figure by the time I hooked up with the gods,
Mm.
I had already been studying like 7, 8 years. I was young,
Mm.
but you
Wow.
know what I mean. I had been so when I came amongst the cipher, I could hold my own.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? I could hold
Right.
my own with guys that had knowledge so longer than me, but I was getting it straight from the source.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
my
Right. Right.
understanding of the lessons was decent. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was decent.
Yeah.
But that was
What?
one thing I noticed.
Yeah. What would you say was the feedback you got when you announced you was a Muslim god? You was a righteous Muslim and a god at the same time. What was the feedback you received from your 5% of peers?
Well, that I wasn't aware of that term during the
Mm-hmm.
time
Mm-hmm.
being a Muslim god.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as saying that as a title, you know what
Right.
I mean? But they knew that I was NOI, like as far as I didn't renounce it or denounce it. You know what
Right.
I mean? Sometimes it used to just be me alone, and all the
Mm-hmm.
gods in the civilization class would just be coming out. That's why when you see me on Facebook now, sometimes when I debate or build, it's like nothing to me because that was training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was early training. Like, the gods be on you for a word. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
could just
Yeah.
say the prefix wrong of a word, and
Yes,
that'll
sir.
turn into a whole
Yes,
whole
sir.
debate within itself. So the
Yes,
gods
sir.
trained me well. It was like by the time I came out of that cipher, I was battle tested and ready. Like, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I done.
Yeah. I mean, well, coming from the nation, I would imagine you were, well read, to a degree. Did you ever come across that term, Muslim God, prior to hearing it, on the streets, or, did you come across, do you remember coming across that term, like reading the messenger's books?
Nah, it's in theology of time, and I
Hmm.
read theology of time
Right.
before. I
Hmm.
remember I had a Abbas Rasul copy of it back then,
Yeah,
but
yes, sir. I had that too. Yeah. Yes,
right,
sir.
it didn't probably stick into my head in terms when
Hmm.
I read it.
Hmm.
So I kind of got familiar with that term through the Allah team, to be
Okay.
honest with you. You know what I mean? That
Okay.
was the first time I heard it as, like a identification
Right.
Muslim, you know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right.
then,
Right.
but when I first heard it,
Hmm.
I automatically and instantly identified with it though. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
was the crazy
Yeah.
thing. I was like,
Yeah.
because I used to debate with them back then,
Right.
but I
Right.
had no term for it. But I knew
Right.
that we were Muslim. Like I
Right.
never, even when I was amongst the gods, I never said that I'm not Muslim. Like,
Right. Right.
I knew
Right.
we was Muslim and I knew we was God because that's
Yes,
what the
sir.
lesson said. You see what I'm saying? So it was like,
That's almost like me, pretty much the same thing. It's like I never heard nobody really using it as a label, you know what I'm
right,
saying, to label themselves like, yeah, I'm a Muslim God. You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
I never heard that before,
You
but
will write
like
it
you
on your
just
name
said,
tag on your
right,
chest,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. But like you said, when I came down south, when I left New York and I moved down to Georgia, and I'm in Augusta, Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I heard of the Allah team, you know, Wakil and them brothers out there, and they calling themselves Muslim gods.
Right,
Automatically, I was like, why do people hate these brothers so much? Like, why do they receive so much backlash? Why are they receiving so much? You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right,
Because I'm like, you know, but it it really began to amaze me. You know what I'm saying? Just the amount of gods that you know have came across these lessons. You know, I heard one time in a little interview, Mike Tyson, uh, Carl Kanai, they was in an interview one time. They was talking about, yeah, cause they both, East New York, Brooklyn, but Mike from Bed-Stuy, Carl
hmm
Kanai from East New York. You know what I'm saying? Work my houses, over there. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So they, everybody came in contact with the guards, with the 5%ers back then.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? But it's just it amazed me that man, so many thousands of brothers that grew up in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, the tri-state area, just Boston, just everywhere, all up north. And it's like, yo, they only identify with God. That's it. The Muslim part, they was like, yo, they was trying to shun that. That's not me. I'm not a Muslim. And I'm like, but it
right,
says that in the lessons. Why does it keep saying we're righteous Muslims? Like it has to be there for a reason. Why didn't the father remove that if he was
right.
so
Indeed.
vehemently opposed? You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
So again, like you said, God, when I first heard, brothers like saying that, I was automatically, it was just like, oh wow. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when I met, True Islam and Wakil and them brothers for the first time, back in what was this, like the early 2000s, saying, no, it was like late 90s, I want to say, like 98, 99 when I first met the guards or whatever in Atlanta. And I'm automatically re-identified because I'm like, wow, so many brothers have had these lessons and just they want to, go at y'all brothers and y'all telling them what it says. It was just crazy, God. But I feel you
yeah.
though. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, a lot, I think people, how can I say it? Like, I would say, like, your emotional structure. You know what I
Mm,
mean? You know how, like, for anything you identify with, right?
mm,
You begin to love whatever culture it may be, right? Whether it's gang
mm,
culture, whether it's religious
mm,
culture. You see what I'm saying?
mm,
When you begin to
mm,
love something, you want to protect
mm.
it. So,
Right,
you know, you got to stay in this circle amongst this set of friends that think this way. And anybody that think
right, right.
outside of your circle of friends, they threaten, you know what I'm saying? They threaten that camaraderie that you have with other brothers and sisters in that circle. So you build this
Mm,
emotional cage to or fence, whatever have you, to try to protect it. And
mm,
I think that's what it
mm,
is because, like I said, when your enlightener give you the lessons this way, and he's in this frame of
mm.
thinking, anything
Right.
you hear outside of that frame of thought is foreign and you reject it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm,
So I believe
yeah.
that's their reaction. You know what I mean?
Mm,
They feel
yeah.
threatened because it's a different way of looking at the lessons.
Mm, mm. I was gonna ask you, like, and you sent me the link too. I was trying to pull that joint up, man. The movie, I don't know why I was having trouble with it, man. You sent me that joint like what was like a week ago, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I've been having trouble with it, God. You know what I'm saying? But the last, just question I was going to ask you, because I know you got to go. I got to get ready so I could, go handle something in a minute myself. But just with, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of the aims of the devil is to silence the messenger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if you call yourself God. Y'all could walk around here and call yourselves God. I don't care about that. But as long as you don't connect to Elijah, as long as you don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
You
sir.
know, you could call yourself a God and be conscious. You could even call yourself conscious nowadays. There's many inside the conscious community uh who don't connect with Elijah. In
Right. They
fact,
don't
they
know who
see
the true and
Elijah.
living God is.
Right, exactly. In fact, they vilify Elijah, some of them within the conscious community. I was just gonna get you to talk a little bit about, what I'm saying, just the whole back in the early 90s when the devil I guess began, even though it began prior to that, but I'm gonna just say in our generation, it began at the advent of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Once the devil seen how the minister, who also is a Muslim god, who also is a 5%er, what I mean? Once the devil seen the minister rising back up now, trying to connect people back to Elijah,
Right.
the devil immediately went to work, you know what I'm saying, at trying to, stop what
Yes,
he was
sir.
doing. And one of the methods, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan mentioned was he didn't have any uh, living person that could go up against Farrakhan. Who's gonna go up against Farrakhan? Who gonna go up against Farrakhan? You know what I mean? So because this is the white man's world, this is the devil's world, and he is a god in his world, as the messenger
Right.
teaches, he had to
That's right.
resurrect one from the dead, that one being Brother Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? So the story of Malcolm X and, just that whole, how him and the messenger, had their little, back and forth and stuff like that. In the movie, why do you think it's just such a priority for the devil to use, these movies and these actors and directors, to portray this negative scene of the messenger? What do you think
Mm.
about that, God?
Man, it's funny, man, because I was just reading, um, I was just reading something from Jabril. I
Mm-hmm.
can't even think of what it was that I read it from just a little while ago, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's from this book,
Mm-hmm.
Farrakhan the Traveler, from this
Okay.
book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knows that,
Yes, sir.
right? My
Yes,
beat
sir.
up book. Um,
Yeah.
he said it was a publication, right? A
Mm-hmm.
publication printed that like Elijah Muhammad reached 3 million people, like that they believed in what he said. Not all of what he said, but most of what he
Right.
said. You see what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that's how many people he was reaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's easy to see because
Mm-hmm.
in truth, I had a talk with my sister the other day, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she really didn't understand the depth or the impact that the Nation of Islam had on America because she didn't come up into Islam or nothing like that. So she think it's just this little group that got these probably weird thoughts, right?
Right. Right.
But I read from Rahman book, Abdul
Mm-hmm.
Rahman,
Yes,
that
sir.
passed away. May Allah be
Yes, sir.
pleased with him. Rock of the South. He
Mm-hmm.
wrote in his book that he said, "You think that the white man gave us integration based off
Mm-hmm.
of Martin Luther King and the civil rights?" He said,
Mm-hmm.
"No." He said they gave you the lesser of two evils because they didn't want you to take Elijah program, which was separation and independence due for self. So
Right.
to stop that from happening, because that's where really our mindset was going. So they
Right.
said, we'll give you this. You
Mm,
take this abracadabra, nothing, a bunch
mm,
of nothingness that you think is
mm,
valuable and is really nothing. They said, take this.
mm,
So even that, right? And to verify Rahman's his position or perspective,
mm,
um Ozzie Davis, is it no, not Ozzie Davis. Oh man, I can't remember the brother name now. But when you watch a lot of films or old films on Malcolm, they
mm,
say that. They say that
mm.
the civil rights leaders used to use Malcolm to make the white man give them what they want. They say, yo, you know what I mean? You better take our program, or we got another program down the street that you don't want no part of. You know what I'm
For real?
saying? Like,
Okay.
right. So
Yeah.
I believe that's the reason why they try to put a spin on the messenger, because he
Right.
has so much momentum,
Yeah.
and they want to kill that stone, try to kill two birds with one stone. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because Malcolm is no longer living. So
Right.
if they could get you to follow him and he's not living, then they
Mm,
won. Because,
mm.
only the dead cannot lead the living. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right.
if you take on the messenger's program, even
Mm,
though the messenger is not amongst us, but he
mm,
has a representative, you know
mm.
what I mean, that steps in his shoes.
Yes,
So
sir.
you see what so it's
Yeah.
like they try to steer you away as best they can.
Mm,
Because
mm. Yeah.
it's going what you say, like it say in the Bible, he said
Mm.
they all gonna follow him. And they was talking
Yeah.
about the man Jesus. We
Yes,
don't
sir.
stop him
Yes, sir.
now. Said they
Every
all
knee,
going.
what it says, every knee shall bend and every tongue shall confess. I think it is.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
That's right and exact.
That's true. Yes, sir. Well, yo, God, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to, get ready so I can wrap it up. You know what I mean? As
Yeah,
always, it's a pleasure building with you. Like I said, I just wanted to go
always.
live for a few minutes. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
I'm trying to get more to gods, you know what I mean? And not just the Muslim gods, you know what I mean? I want to see some of the M.G.C that's among us. I want to see some of the other sects of 5%ers, if there is any more in the groups. Yo, like, come on, man. We gotta start building, man. We gotta get back to building. You know what I mean?
Right,
We getting away from the building, God. You know what
right.
I
I, I'm
mean?
I'm gonna try to get my brother. I'm gonna see. It's funny, God. We say this too before you bounce. My brother, you know me, my physical brother, my older. I got two older brothers. Yeah, my
Yes,
other
sir.
brother, he's NGE. He
Yes, sir.
Nation of Gods of Earth, and he knew
Mm.
who you was. You know what I mean? One day we spelled. He said, "Oh, you talk about Fahim?" He was like, "Yeah, I know the guy. I watch his videos." I said, "Yo, where this ball that threw me for a curveball, man?" I'm like, "What?" Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even think he'd be in tune like that. But maybe I could get him to
Yeah.
come on your
Yes,
program.
sir. Yes, sir.
He's sharp
Yes,
though. He's sharp.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We don't be
Yeah, I
having no
been,
civil
what I'm
wars or
saying?
nothing either. We don't be having no civil wars or nothing like that. It's
Yes,
all
sir.
peace.
Yes, sir. Yeah, God, I got to get back to the Bills, man. You know what I mean? It's a blessing that, because the last time you was on the channel with me building, you know what I mean, on YouTube, I had this other little program, this other little app I was using, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is better. We could build, and you know what I'm saying? It could be a much
Yeah,
more longer build. I don't got to keep stopping all the time, you know what I mean? And so it's good, man. It give me an opportunity to connect with the gods and build with them. But at the end of the day, I know I got to get back to, jumping off into the lessons, going through each lesson one at a time, like I've been doing. I know the God's been missing that. Somebody hit me the other day and was like, "Yo, God, you don't be going through the lessons no more." But it take time to do that, though. You know what I mean? I don't want people to just think I just, just start building just like that. I try to at least compile information, because a lot of those breakdowns that I did in my book of life, I did those breakdowns like 11, 12, 13 years ago, when I was, just coming home
right,
from federal prison. I had mad time on my hands, you know
right,
what I
right,
mean?
right.
But it's like now, you want to at least bring it up to today's speed so that you could deliver the message in the proper fashion, you know what I mean? So it takes time for me
Yes,
to,
sir.
prepare, a bill and do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But I'm
I
gonna definitely get
understand.
back
I
to it
know.
though. I'm gonna definitely get back to it though, God. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. Shoot, if anything, the next time we get on, if anything, because I think like 2, 3, 4 people could get on the live. You bring them on, we could build. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 4 people could be on the live.
2, 3, 4. I believe. I don't know what's the maximum, but I know like Wakil had 3 of us on here one time with him. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's possible. You know.
You know, Wakil is the piece with the magnetic, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah. Peace to Wakil,
yeah,
peace to the Mike
yeah,
God,
yeah.
peace to the
They treat
Elder
the God
Alamel.
they treat him like he Yakub. You know,
Yeah,
Yakub start his name was reverberating through the community, man.
yeah, yeah,
Jokers
yeah,
was
yeah,
scared to death of Yakub, man.
yeah, yeah.
Why
I
kill
tell
let
her,
Yakub in reverse? He
yeah,
gonna make
yeah.
righteous
You know what
gods
I'm
instead of wicked devils.
saying? Yeah. True indeed, God. That's true
uh,
indeed. True indeed. But yeah, Lord, yo, let me get up out of here. But yo, it's good building with you, God, as always. You
what's
know what I
up,
mean?
man?
And we definitely gonna get together again and spark some more atoms. So, you know what
Indeed,
I'm
man.
saying?
A
Yes,
pleasure
sir.
as always.
Yes, sir. With that being said, God, I'm gonna say peace.
Peace to the God. Peace.
Peace. Salamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.